Nevada business leaders and union officials and members of Congress are warning that long delays renewing DACA are hurting families and the state's economy. At a news conference earlier today, they pointed to more than 10,000 DACA recipients living in the state, contributing hundreds of millions of dollars to Nevada's economy. Speakers said that DACA renewals that once took about 2 weeks can now stretch past 6 months, meaning dreamers can temporarily lose their work permits, driving worker shortages and disrupting housing and health care.
This is not a failure of dreamers. This is a failure of the system. When people who have complied with every requirement lose their jobs because paperwork isn't processed on time, that hurts workers, families, employers, and our economy.
Lawmakers said they are pushing bills like the Dream and Promise Act and the Dignity Act to create a more permanent path for dreamers.